On today's episode, we review the new Star Wars book, Isles Like Stars, and we break all the new book reveals from San Diego Comic Con. So, if you guys are ready, I'm not ready. Let's talk Star Wars and start the transmission.
Rebellions are built on hope.
And welcome to another special episode of Radio Rebellion, a Star Wars podcast. I'm your host, Alberto Calderon, and thank you for joining us on this Star Wars Saturday as we talk new Star Wars book. That's our new thing. We're only talking Star Wars books this past couple of weeks. We're gonna keep going because that's what we got, and we love them. Some great Star Wars novels out there, adult novels, young adult, new stuff announced in San Diego Comic Con, non-Star Wars stuff that dropped a couple of hours ago, days ago, but so many fun times today as I am here with you guys on this Star Wars Saturday. Just me again this week. We hope to have our friend, our co-host Oti, back in a couple of weeks. We'll be off next week, most likely again, unless something huge happens. So I think we're taking that week off. And then that following week, so in about 2 weeks, we're gonna have it's the Ninth Jedi, that new series or special. I don't know what we're calling it. I still don't know how many episodes of that we're gonna get, but the Ninth Jedi, that new animated series, drops in about a week and a half. We'll be back. We'll talk about probably the first half of the episodes, depending how many episodes we get. If it's more than 4, we'll probably do about 2 or 3 that day. And then the following week, hopefully, Oti will be back and we'll finish up the review of that series. But that's still a couple of weeks away, ways away. But now, to everyone joining us either live, later on the replay, or during you're enjoying the audio podcast on your way to work or vacations or whatever. Thank you as always for joining us. Make sure you like this video, you comment down below, you subscribe to our channel so we can keep doing this, and you get notified when new stuff drops. And if you're listening to the audio podcast, as always, thank you, and leave us a rating, 5 stars if you can, a review, and all that fun stuff. So yeah, I got this cool kind of Mandalorian trading card. Actually, my daughter got it at Dave & Buster's. So now it's mine. It's pretty cool. It's really hardy. Some hard plastic out there for Mando. Now that the movie's out on digital, and I think the DVD and Blu-ray, the physical, is also out. Not out. Those are coming in the next couple of weeks. So yay, we'll be talking about that probably in the next couple of weeks as we get to watch it a couple more times. We'll break it down. We'll get everyone's thoughts on it. But for today, not that. So let's go ahead and start. If you guys are ready with some. Actually, before we jump into Star Wars news, we're going to talk about San Diego Comic Con, of course. It's going on right now. I think the big Marvel panel, the MCU panel is later today. Lucasfilm had its panel. We're going to jump on those news in a little bit. But if you guys know me, you follow us here on the show or just on social media, I'm a Lord of the Rings fan. That's one of my favorite things, and I love the Rings of Power. The new Season 3 trailer dropped yesterday, and throughout the week, they've been showing different images. Sauron, the new Nazgul. I know they got the ring rates get a new name because they're not ring rates at this moment. Everything looks awesome, and then that trailer dropped, and I can't wait. November 11th is when it drops. They kind of gave the episode schedule I'm not too fond of. Everything's going to be shown in 3 weeks. So the first week, November 11th, 4 episodes drop. Following week, episodes 5 and 6, and then the following, I think November 21st or whatever it is the last 2 episodes. If this is similar to Andor and it's because those are kind of their own separate arcs, then I'll be okay with it. I'm really enjoying the weekly releases of House of the Dragon. So getting all of Rings of Power drop in 3 weeks is kind of weird, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. All right, but now let's get on to Star Wars. So if you guys are ready, let's talk some Star Wars news. All right, our first bit of news, actually the only bit of news for Star Wars this week, apart from nothing. It's San Diego Comic Con book reveals. There's some awesome things that were revealed, a bunch of comic books. But the main one I'm gonna show right now. Where is my? Look at that. Look at this awesome cover for Twin Crossroads. We kind of talked about this a little bit last week. The name was put out there on social media. Michael C. Lane kind of confirmed that the way was revealed on Amazon or some other of the resale or sellers was kind of the way they were going. We didn't know exactly what Twin Crossroads was going to be about. We didn't have the cover, but then this dropped yesterday. Last week, I kind of speculated that based on War Legacy, the new Star Wars novel that comes out next week, we did our non-spoiler review of that last week. So go ahead and check it out. Kind of mentioned it kind of made sense that this book was going to be Luke and Leia during their Jedi training, and that's exactly what we got. So it's confirmed to be the Luke and Leia Jedi training story. That cover, sorry, I don't have the name of the artist right now. I know the cover, they said not final, but they said that apart from a little tweaks here and there, it's gonna pretty much remain the same. And I love everything about this cover. It looks great. Beth Revis, who did Rebel Rising, that great Gene Erso book, and The Princess and the Scoundrel, is back to write, I believe, her third Star Wars novel. It's a long synopsis. She did an interview with StarWars.com where it kind of breaks down everything that we kind of should know before we go into where it falls in the timeline, her motivations behind some of the characters, why she's so happy to write the twins, the Skywalker twins. But the synopsis, I kind of grabbed some interesting bits. Again, it's a pretty long one, but basically goes after the events of Return of the Jedi, Luke Skywalker and Leia Organa train together in the ways of the Jedi. The siblings must confront the legacies of their birth parents, Anakin Skywalker and Padme Amidala, and their own diverging futures in the Force. Luke loves seeing his sister excel but doubts his teaching ability when there is still so much to discover and learn. Leia, meanwhile, is determined to master these new skills, but she struggles with both what it would mean to commit her life entirely to serving the Force and the knowledge of being Darth Vader's daughter. Despite their doubts, Luke and Leia volunteer for an urgent covert New Republic mission to infiltrate the center of Imperial power, Coruscant. Their quest begins at the Imperial Palace, once the Jedi Temple, where they gain a new understanding of the former Jedi Order and Galactic Republic. I mean, there's a lot to kind of dive in and dig in from that synopsis. It's just not going to be a book about Luke and Leia, Agent Claus training for that kind of 1 year, a little bit less, and then she decides to go separate ways because of visions she has about Kylo Ren and Ben Solo and her family. There's a lot more that goes into this. I love that it's gonna go into the psychology of these two characters, how they're feeling at this time period. Very similar, I guess, for Luke, where he finds himself now compared to in Legacy, where Rey finds herself, that they're the only Jedi out at this point, didn't have a lot of training. Of course, Luke had a lot more than Rey, but trying to figure out what that means, kind of being the last Jedi and trying to rebuild kind of the order and starting with his sister, how this is going to manifest itself. And then for Leia, of course, going head on into everything, but at this point, kind of figuring out that she's Darth Vader's daughter, Anakin Skywalker's daughter. How does that play into everything that she's known about herself, and how that then translates to that Jedi training? Going back to Coruscant, to the Jedi Temple, which at this point is the Imperial Palace. What secrets are going to be in that temple that Luke and Leia learn about the Anakin, about Padme? Great. Beth Revis did a great job with Rebel Rising, which I really love. It took me a while to get that book. I was kind of bullied into getting it, but I love reading it afterwards. And then so I have pretty high hopes for this book. I haven't read Princess and the Scoundrel, but I believe she's a kind of Leia stories right after Princess and the Scoundrel. So if people have read that book, will get a little bit more from where kind of Leia's mindset is at this point. So this book comes out next year, April 2027. There's still not an exact date. I'm gonna say I wouldn't surprise me if they change this date a little bit. Now it doesn't have an actual kind of release date, just April, early next year. Hopefully not, and then we get Twin Crossroads early next year, April 2027. They also announced the novelization of the original trilogy as unabridged audiobooks. I believe they said it's the first time that the original trilogy novelizations have been available as audiobooks. Mark Thompson, of course, is coming back to narrate them, and they come out February 2nd, 2027, just as celebration of the 50th anniversary. They also mentioned a book called Star Wars: A Celebration. It took me a while to find any information about this. This one is kind of self-explanatory, but I did find one that says it unlocked 50 years of Star Wars secrets, myths, and stories with this unparalleled guide to a cultural icon, featuring exclusive new interviews with the creators and talent who brought a galaxy far, far away to life, alongside beautiful behind-the-scenes photography and concept art. A great book for people that like collecting and knowing everything that went behind making of the movies, the series, and all that stuff. So getting something like that for the 50-year anniversary kind of covers everything. It's going to be very interesting and kind of what a lot of people out there like to read and like to collect. So very cool for them. Another book that seems more like a collector's item is the Star Wars Icons Vader. It covers the character's journey from his genesis in George Lucas' first draft of Star Wars to Anakin Skywalker's tragic fall to the dark side in the prequel trilogy and beyond. This is what we got from the synopsis, written by Anthony Bresnikan. This comes out later this year, October 20th, 2026. It shocked me when I saw the sticker price. On the publisher's website, it's $225. Amazon has it on sale, quote unquote, for $162. But I did see Anthony Bresnikan kind of bring the book out during Comic Con, and it's a beast. It's probably like 14 to 16 inches high, probably like 10 inches long, probably more. I think it's almost 500 pages, probably weighs like 10 pounds. It was a beast. It was, I can't even fit it on screen right now. So maybe it does kind of cost that in terms of everything that went into it. Against 500 pages on a in-depth booklet. I think Hayden Christensen does the foreword, and it goes through everything about the life of Darth Vader. Not just, I'm guessing, not just kind of in Star Wars, but just this cultural icon. So again, another great collector's item out there. That one, Star Wars Icons Vader and Star Wars A Celebration. I think it's going to be a great collector's item for people that collect those kind of archive books that has all those background behind the scenes stories of Star Wars. I think these two are going to be what people gravitate to. And of course, there were some other graphic novels that were announced more on the younger reader side, a bunch of comic books. The High Republic continues. So there's a lot of stuff out there, not just those books I'm talking about right now. Those are the big ones. Those are the ones that I kind of, my eyes kind of gravitate towards. A lot of other cool things were announced. Hello there, Dale. Thanks for joining us, General Skywalker. Thanks for being here, Dale. Hope you're doing well today. All right, so those were the news from San Diego Comic Con. There was some more information given for Star Wars Star Pilots, which comes out later this year. I don't think there were any other big novel announcements. We're going to talk now about Ice Like Stars, which is this first kind of genre-based Star Wars going into romance. I know there's a horror one coming, which is more middle grade one, but I believe Michael Siglain came out and said they have ideas, or they're working on like 5 different other genre books out there. Is it mystery, thriller? I'm not sure what, but those types of genre books for Star Wars apparently are gonna keep coming. So it's good news for all of us who love reading Star Wars stories out there. All right, so let's go to our main topic for today, which is, same as last week, our mostly non-spoiler reviews for Star Wars Ice Like Stars by Ashley Poston. This is the first official Star Wars romance novel. There's been romance in Star Wars since its inception in the real trilogy, of course, with Han Solo and Leia Organa. it kind of went, I want to say, over the head, which brought to the forefront in the prequel trilogy with Anakin and Padme, and we're seeing now with the new book that just got announced how they're still in talk, that we're still learning more about those two characters. And then, of course, then in the sequel trilogy, that Reylo kind of came into it with Rey Skywalker, Ben Solo, Kylo Ren, and all that in animation. There's been a lot of romance also, and then mostly in the books. Lost Stars is one that people say, well, there's kind of a romance book in Star Wars. Temptation of the Jedi had a lot of romance with our main character, with Elzar and Eivor Chris. So romance has been a part of Star Wars since its beginning, right? But the way I see it is that romance has been inside the stories that we have been stories. They're a part of the stories that we're either watching or reading. Here, it's stories inside of a romance kind of story, I guess. It's mostly a romance book with a story inside instead of a story with some romance in kind of mingle in between. So this is romance first and then kind of the story. And this is kind of underselling the book a lot. So I'll start by saying I'm not a romance reader. So I was kind of skeptical, not skeptical, but a little bit like, I don't know if I'm going to enjoy this book or not. It's not what I usually read. But it's Star Wars, so I'm gonna give it a shot, and I'm glad I did. I said this during my written review. I'm glad I gave this book a chance. Even I didn't go like, it's romance, I don't read that. It is a very entertaining book. It feels like Star Wars, has a lot of those Star Wars tropes and kind of arcs. And what you want to get from a Star Wars story, you get it here with the added bonus that there's a lot of romance ingrained into it, especially if these are the types of stories you like reading. But as a non-romance reader, I didn't find myself kind of, here we go, it's too sappy or anything like that. Nothing's too over the top. Like, yeah, the romance part, these two characters and their interaction and their journey together is what drives the book. But there's a very cool story also inside it that Ashley Poston wrote that if you're a Star Wars fan, you're going to enjoy anyways. So that's my first kind of, yeah, even if you're not a romance reader, you should be okay if you're a Star Wars reader enjoying this book, Ice Like Stars. So let's talk a little bit about the story. Again, I'll try to stay away from most spoilers or main spoilers. Some of the things I'll talk about might happen in the first few chapters, might not really kind of break any news in terms of I'm spoiling things for you, hopefully not. So I'll try to keep away from them. Again, this book just came out this past week on Tuesday, so it's been out for a couple of days. I'll try to stay away from main spoilers, probably. I'll try. So it takes place about a year and a half before the events of The Force Awakens. So the First Order is out there, people know about them, but not everyone kind of feels that they're a real threat, especially people that are high up in society. We know from Bloodline that Leia has to leave the New Republic and start the resistance because she's trying to tell people, hey, the First Order is a problem. And they're like, yeah, you're just a warmonger. You're bringing too much into it. The New Republic, we're fine. So this is in that kind of time period. The First Order is there. They have children. They've stolen children. They conscripted them. They're building their army. They've taken over different sectors of the galaxy and different planets. But people are not still like, yeah, this is Coruscant. This is the of the core. It's not really going to affect us. So we're at that time period, just so you guys have an idea. Our main character, our story follows Ardent Quay. She's the daughter of the captain. She's part of the Starfarer tour starship. The Starfarer is a starship that goes on tours. It takes people to different sectors of the galaxy that have been affected or that are historically important, I should say. It's written in first person, so we're seeing the story from Arden's point of view. She's called Ari for most of it, so if you see me, I'll go back and forth between Arden and Ari. Her dad is Hansi Fred Quay. He's the captain of the Starfarer, and they're about to set out on this, I think it's a 14-day tour. It's called a Century of Change Tour. It takes people to different historical sites and cultural important places. I love when you open the book and when you're about to start, it gives you like an itinerary of all the places that you're going to visit. It's really cool to get you kind of in the mood, like, oh yeah, this is an actual, like you're going on a cruise basically. You're making all those stops along the way. So this is a galactic cruise. So, and we don't get to go to all these places. I'm just gonna say the names that there are there. So again, it kind of puts you in that Star Wars mindset, even though it's a romance book, and if like me again, you're not a romance reader, it puts you in that. Oh, we're in Star Wars, so I feel safe. I got my comfort blanket. So this Century of Change tour takes people. It starts at Coruscant, goes to Alderaan or whatever's left of Alderaan, goes to the Middle Rim, Naboo. Then we go to the Outer Rim with Tatooine, Geonosis, Yavin 4, Kashyyyk, Mimban, Gorman, and Endor. Those are all the stops that are planned on this tour. Will they make it to all of them? I'll say no, maybe. Maybe there's some changes along the way. And then there's a lot of stuff that happens in, I guess, that port of calls when they go to. So again, there's a lot of action. There's a lot of cool story in between, the romance between those two characters. So Ardent, the story starts with her on Coruscant. She's looking for a rare edition of a romance book. There's a romance serial. It's why they call it. I believe it's called Under the Tauntaun Sun, and it's the only one missing from her mother's collection. Her mom, Audra, she's lost. Like they lost her. I don't know how many years. So between 3 or 5 years ago, she goes missing while trying to find a birthday gift for Ardent. So that's kind of always in the back of her head. It's very cool. And jumping a little bit with her mom, what we learned, she comes from a line of hyperspace prospectors, brings me straight to the High Republic era. So I'm getting hyped for this book. She does something called wayfinding and astrograding, which is kind of navigating hyperspace routes without the needs of droids or machines or things of like nature. Jedi of the High Republic, they have an ability called wayfinding, which they use to send planets that had life in them. So I don't know if this is kind of hinting at people, readers that Arden's mom, Audra, might have been force sensitive. If the people that can do this ability of wayfinding are force sensitive, that's not mentioned in the book. That's just me doing kind of a little bit of research. We know that wayfinders that they use in Rise of Skywalker. So that's, again, bringing everything to that Star Wars feel. So Arden has a chance to encounter while she's looking for this very special book with our other protagonist called Cian. Maybe I'm gonna say Cian. She calls him a wild spacer. And then when she has a run-in with this guy, she becomes part of the type of story that she used to reading on the books and those kind of serials out there. She never thought this would happen to her. She grew up in the cruise line, in the cruise ship. Her whole life is based inside that starship. So being out in the world is something new for her. So there's a bit of mystery set up already from this first meeting, and this all happens in that first chapter, first and second chapter. So a bit of mystery set up early on. The Star Wars lore that is set up early on. I found myself again. This is where I'm interested in this story. I'm gonna put it behind my head that this is mainly a romance novel. Again, it is, but there's a lot of kind of a cool story setting inside this romance novel or this romance kind of story that I found interesting. I kept going through it. Cian, there's a mystery. He's being haunted by the First Order. We're not sure why. Maybe be a mysterious lightsaber that he's hiding, that he has with him. Again, first couple of chapters, first and second chapters, we learn that he has a lightsaber hidden. So that story already, I'm hooked. Like, all right, we have two brand new characters. The First Order is behind one of them, and there's a mysterious lightsaber, and he's very cagey about everything. And then she kind of takes him to the ship to save his life. Both of them are kind of she saved him, he saved her, and then we're just gonna go on this mission. The two jump on this starfare and they're set out on a cross galaxy road trip, basically, that takes them to important sites that have been touched by the galactic civil war. So that's where all those places come into play. That Alderaan, Geonosis, some of the other places because this is where the ship is going. She smuggles him on board just to keep him away from the First Order, and then their story, their journey kind of starts. There's a surprise return with one of Arden's family members. Kind of throws everything for a loop. Kind of makes her. Uh, so it throws a wrench in this blossoming romance between her and Cian. So secrets are revealed, bonds are tested. It's very interesting how Ashley kind of worked through all those. You bring a character that our main character thought was gone, she was never going to see again. And the reaction between them is a little bit different than what you would expect when that person shows up. Uh, Setting this story about 3 decades after the fall of the Empire gave the author Ashley Poston again enough of a canvas to be able to tell her own story with mostly new characters and not necessarily feel the walls of canon kind of closing in. You don't have to worry about what was character X doing, where was character Y this time period. Again, Star Wars and the galaxy far, far away is a expanded universe. Expands, I guess I use. It's a large universe. You can tell different stories away from the main characters during time period that we kind of know, and it still makes sense why some of those other characters might not show up. But having that 30-year span from the end of Return of the Jedi to a couple of years between The Force Awakens gave her enough of a leeway that you can just do a story about whatever you want and still make it feel like Star Wars. Plus, at the same time, when you visit Coruscant, when you go to the remains of Alderaan, to Naboo, or to Tatooine, all in the context of the in-universe history of those places, it makes you feel like, okay, I'm in Star Wars. It feels like Star Wars, even with brand new characters we've never heard from before. Of course, there's mentions of Operation Cinder and Emperor Palpatine's Sith mural that we saw in Revenge of the Sith, mentions of Malachor. So there's a lot of stuff again for people that might be canon junkies and maybe again not too much a fan about from romance inside of Star Wars. It gives you enough to kind of keep you engaged in the story. Some cool additions when we're talking about Alderaan and the remains of Alderaan were something called the Graveyard of Alderaan, which is this debris field that was left behind after the destruction of the planet. We learned there's different sectors of the galaxy or around that Alderaanian sector, I'm not sure what it's called, are trying to bring back parts of the culture, trying to revive it. The music, the agriculture, the art. There's a space station that kind of made from the remains of the destroyed Death Star. It's a very cool note to say, Death Star destroyed our planet, but now we're gonna use the remains of it to try to rebuild what little we have. And then there's a mod called the Monument, which is an entire floor inside the space station with the names of everyone that has been accounted for who died when the planet was destroyed. So it's a cool way to learn more about Alderaan, which is a planet extremely important in Star Wars history, but since it was destroyed, there's just enough that you can tell about the planet going forward. And this is a cool way to kind of bring it back, kind of make sense where people are visiting, and give a little bit of ownership to Alderaan again after being lost to the Death Star. So that's kind of where the story starts and kind of set off those two characters, Arden and Cian, on this adventure. Not every stop has a big action piece, but there's enough for again to people to stay interested. But let's talk about characters. And a romance story is only as good as the chemistry between those characters and between the leads. And the tension between Arden and Cian, it's palpable from the beginning. From the first encounter in that shop onward till the end of the book, you can feel that connection. They don't have a connection right away, but you can see how it kind of flows throughout the book and how it makes sense as it progresses. Cian calls her by a cute nickname. She calls her Starlight. Of course, something that she doesn't like being called, but it's the way he kind of connects to her. Ari or Arden kind of notices his eye color, this distinct smell that he has that she describes as bittersweet nostalgia, the scent of something that she known she'd lost. I mean, she'd never known she'd lost. She noticed there's a time early on where they're kind of on this little alcove, kind of chest to chest, and she can feel how his heart beats, the curl of his lips. She notices the size difference between her and Cian, which I know for in what following people on social media and a lot of shipping and things of that nature. Height difference is a big thing. She felt goosebumps when their hands touched. Every time he spoke, it made her feel things that she didn't want to feel or she didn't know she could feel. Feeling relief when he didn't leave the ship during their first stop. So we see this relationship grow from Ari Arden just blushing with every flirtatious kind of comment that Cian gave her, kind of sends her way, to how throughout the book that physical distance between those characters kind of grows shorter and shorter, kind of then shrinks between them as the story develops, as the relationship develops. So I think from my little experience reading romance, especially in Star Wars, I think it's a great progression of those characters, makes sense for the story, and I don't want to say for their love, but how that it just didn't come off. I don't know. It wasn't a love at first sight. It wasn't enemies to lovers. It was, yeah, I made this person. I really don't know how to feel about them, but I really don't want them to leave. I want to keep them close at a distance, but I want to see where kind of these feelings that I'm starting to feel, what do they mean, and how can we progress from both of them, just not from Ardent's side, but also for Cian. So Ardent, 18 years old, brand new kind of adult out there. She has, like I mentioned, she's lived her whole life aboard the family tour ship. Being the daughter of the captain came with expectations. Hansi Fred, her dad, wanted her to, keep on the name in the sense that she was going to, when he retired, she was going to take over the company. Her brother left, so she's kind of put in this awkward position of, oh, now you're my heir, basically you're gonna take over the company. She's in a place, a point in her life when she's starting to realize that there might be more to life than what she had experienced so far. Maybe she wants to go out there, especially after meeting Cian, and see, I want to say real life, but what is life outside these 14 places that they always visit? The same story they're always telling, living inside their tour ship. What is life out there in the galaxy? She's at that point, again, 18 years, becoming an adult, similar to our own when we reach that point, graduated high school, maybe going to college, going to another state, a different city. She's at that point, basically, but inside the world of Star Wars, where her dad is very controlling because just lost, not just a few years, 3 or 5 years, I can't remember exactly, lost his wife, lost Arden's mom. Her brother kind of left for the same reason that she's starting to feel. So her dad is holding her close, doesn't want her to leave. But she's thinking there might be something out there. She's always thinking about her mom, how much they were alike, how much people tell her she looks like her, wanting to learn the astrograding, the wayfinding that her mom did. She never got a chance to practice it. She knew it by theory, but never got a chance to practice. Of course, her dad doesn't let her because that's how her mom was lost. She's not sure how to feel about her brother's return. Yeah, being kind of trying to tiptoe around it. The person that comes back into her life is her brother. She doesn't know how to feel with his return. Kind of came out of nowhere after he left. She's again at a point where she doesn't feel important or worthy. Like her mom did all these great things, being able to navigate hyperspace lanes without assistance. Her brother decided to go and live his life away from the ship. Her dad is the captain that everyone loves. She doesn't know where she fits. Again, a coming of age story. So that's this character, very interesting character. And then in comes Cian, with his striking white hair and mesmerizing black eyes, with Eyes like stars, that's where the name of the book comes in. Black eyes with a bunch of white dots that can mesmerize anyone. He comes into her life. She calls him a wild spacer. She's out there just living life. He's a mystery to Ardent. He's a mystery to the reader as well. He's hesitant to share information about his past. He mentions his mentor a lot of times. We don't know anything about her till later on in the book. Again, he doesn't want to say why the First Order is after him. It's a bit arrogant out there, but has a very likable side to him. Han Solo, a bunch of I can't remember the names right now, but I'm sure the characters in the High Republic, especially in Phase 2, have this quality. So you can, he's a likable guy. You don't just, oh, this character, I hate him. He stand up for those he cares about, even the people that he just met. He has a cute pet with him that he keeps around, Nula. So what's not to like, right? He was training to be an archaeologist. His mentor is mentioned, everything we know, went to the university for High Republic era politics and discoveries. And anytime you mention the High Republic in a Star Wars book, it's gonna hook me. So again, I was hooked from right. Again, the relationship between those two characters, how this romance plays throughout the story, kind of works really good, really well. Plus the story that those two characters are kind of navigating inside their kind of growing romance is also very interesting. They're surrounded by a strong cast. I mentioned a little bit about her dad. One of my favorite new droids, she's funny and a bit maniacal, is BB-35. She's the Starfarer's chef. One of a kind droid. She's made of parts of all different droids. I believe she's a protocol droid, has all these different droid parts in her. She's funny, sarcastic, wants to kill anyone. So yeah, I love BB-35. Her counterpart, because she has to have an astromech N2O. They're great also. He kind of serves as the DJ when necessary. Her parents, we learn, but had joined the rebellion when they were looking for pilots and navigators. So a little bit of cool. It's not a little backstory into it, but a cool kind of nod again to different eras in Star Wars. The only cameo I'll spoil because it happens pretty early on. Mas Kanata shows up. She's part of the people going on this tour. I won't say too much, but if Mas Kanata's there, I started having all these theories in my head as the story went on of what it could mean. So I'll let you guys kind of figure out what her play is there and how it works. But it's a cool character. She doesn't do too much. So it's not like, oh, Mas Kanata's here. We're going to learn all this stuff about her. No, she's there. She is a few cool scenes with her and some of the other characters. There's the new, I want to say queen, but the new ruler, Naboo, shows up and she has a cool interactions, cool scenes with her. So yeah, basically characters, it's all about Cian and Ardent. I think they work great together. If you enjoy those two characters and the story or the journey they go through, you'll enjoy this book. Again, my quotes, you know that I like my quotes. VB35 says one, I've always wanted to try cooking humanoid meat, which is not something I thought I heard a droid say, so it was very fun. There's a conversation between Cian and Ari that I love. Cian says, empathy doesn't bring back people. Then Ardent replies back with saying, well, if we die, then it's your job to make sure read the wrong one. Cian says, empathy doesn't bring back people. And Ardent says, no, but without it, we lose them entirely, which is a great feeling of keeping those that you love always in the back of your head, in your memory, so you can keep their memory alive. Ardent also says during one of their adventures, well, if we die, then it's your job, or I guess it's, well, if I die, then it's your job to make sure someone writes a very, it's Ari talking to one of the droids. He says, well, if we die, then it's your job to make sure someone writes a very smutty version of my story someday. I want it steamy. I'm talking the kind of smut that'll make Derek blush. Derek is a character in the book. But it's funny that inside of a romance novel, she wants her last memories to be put in a novel or in a book or a story, very, very smutty and kind of out there, which the book is not, but it's funny as she kind of sees it that way. Right. Again, so in conclusion, I mentioned it probably like 10 times already. As a non-romance reader, I think the best endorsement I can give Eyes Like Stars is that it kept me interested in the story and invested in Arden's and Cian's relationship. So again, I'm not a romance reader, but I really enjoyed this book. It's a story about what it really means to have a home, a family, and how those doesn't necessarily need to be a specific person or place, which is something Star Wars, which found family and all this stuff. What it means to have a family, what it means to have a home, and what do those places and people really mean. How grief affects us and how we look at the world. It's not just a love story, but also a coming of age story for Arden as she explores the galaxy and finds herself and where she fits in it. So yeah, I think again, great book out there. Apart from Mas Kanata, there's some other more spoilery cameos or surprises throughout the book, especially towards the tail end. I won't spoil those for you guys. So out of 5 kind of probe droids, I think I gave this book like 3.5. It's an extremely easy read. You can read it in a couple of sit downs for in like 3 or 4 days if you read every day. Very cool story. A very smart way to start this kind of genre-based books for Star Wars. If you want to start with a romance novel, a YA, romance is the way to go. With brand new characters, with a cool Star Wars story set in between that worked even for myself. So if you're a fan of romance, you'll enjoy it. If you're a fan of Star Wars, you'll probably enjoy it also. And if you love both Star Wars and romance inside Star Wars, yeah, pick it up. You'll enjoy it. Like I mentioned, this book just came out a couple of days ago, July 21st. And again, thanks to Penguin Random House for the advanced copy of Eyes Like Stars by, if I forgot, Ashley Poston. She does a great job. So that's it, guys. That's kind of my review for Eyes Like Stars. Let me know if you've read this book already. Let me know in the comments what you thought about it or in social media. If you haven't read it and you're interested in reading it, let me know after. And the new book announcement for the San Diego Comic Con, also let me know what you want to read, what you're looking forward to. You know what it is for me. It is that in whatever. I'm tired. Wanna go with something. Twin Crossroads, the new Star Wars book featuring Luke and Leia during the training. Alright guys, like I mentioned, I'll be out next week unless something big happens in Star Wars, probably not. And then we'll be back for our first of mostly 2 reviews of the Last Jedi animated series. So thank you to Dale, thank you to everyone else that might have joined. I didn't have a chance to jump in the comments. Thank you as always. We'll see you next time. Stay safe. Be safe. May the Force be with you. See ya and transmit.